It's my brushes. So here's the haul where I am going to show you. I bought a whole bunch of brushes recently and I wanted to share them with you. Some of them are Real Techniques, EcoTools, I think another one of them is PUR, and Etude House. Oh, and Japonesque. So it should be fun. I did this look today using as many of the brushes as I could. I think my eyebrows, I didn't have any eyebrow brushes, so those I used my own brushes. But I did a full-on sculpted, like, full face, because I was like, I really wanted to try out these brushes before I shared them, just to at least give some initial impressions. So I'll start off with the Real Techniques one. This is the Expert Face Kit, or Eye Kit. It comes with one of these brushes, and I can't for the life of me remember which one it was. I bought myself. I think it was the domed shadow brush I bought myself. I want to say that that was the one. Or it was the shading brush. So there's one more of these brushes than it's supposed to be. It's one of these domed ones. So this one, and this one, I'm positive I did not buy separately. I may have gotten the medium shadow brush separately. Sorry about that. But it comes with the lash separator, which is interesting because I don't have anything like this, you know, for separating the lashes. It comes with a fine liner brush. I've had mixed experiences with the Real Techniques ones, but I always feel like when you're using a whole lot of colors like I do, it never hurts to have some backups of those. And then we have a Essential Crease Brush. This was wonderful. I used this today to get all up in that crease and blend it out through. I had some shadows that were giving me some trouble. And this, it's just like, there's something about the Real Techniques eye brushes that are amazing for blending. Packing on, the lid they're not the best, but they're certainly not the worst. But see, blending out, oh my god, there's something about the way that they're always so stubby and they're always like quite thick that is just a dream. Mattes, shimmers, anything. If you have a stubborn eyeshadow, blending it out, amazing. So I used this one to pack it on all over the lid. It wasn't bad, but I've had better. And I didn't use these other two. But this one is the medium shadow brush. You can see that's quite thick, quite big. But this one, for my tiny eyes, the shading brush is wonderful. That one was good in terms of size. And this is the domed shadow brush. Haven't tried that one yet. Oh, the light's good enough I don't have to do that. So yeah, that was fun. And I loved actually the fact that it comes in this little cup. If you ever bought Real Techniques eye brushes, you know that they're a little bit like shorter than all the other ones, and the way that I keep my brushes and stuff. I'm actually really happy to have this because it means that I have something that I can keep all my brushes that are that little bit shorter than the rest of mine somewhere that they aren't going to get like lost in the mix down below, because they do that. Next, I got a set. I think it was the travel set, or the, something like that. It was like the travel set, or the expert face set, one of the two. Yeah, and then one of the brushes that was in there with the eyes came with this, so don't worry about that. I thought I bought an eye brush separately, but I guess I didn't. Oh well. Anywho, that came with the multitask brush that I didn't end up using today, only just because of the way I did my makeup, but Tara Babies recommended this brush and said it was really great, and said she had like 10 of them, so I really wanted to try them because I have quite a lot of Real Technique brushes in general. I have almost all of them, at least the ones that are like this. Nearly all of them. I think maybe I'm missing like 2 or something. And here's the Essential Foundation brush. People really don't, I feel like, don't use these kinds of brushes enough. You find them with foundation that they're using, you know, like the stubby ones or the beauty blenders and something like that. But there's something to be said for a brush that can like pat on your foundation really well. No, it's not a necessity. Yes, you can do it without it, but there is something really nice about being able to just like pat it on. So when I'm doing my foundation, I'll like, rather than putting it on the back of my hand or something like that, I'll put it like burp, 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 you know, and then blend it out with something else, but I can even blend it out with this. And the Real Techniques brushes, I have the, this is the Essential Foundation brush. I also have their regular foundation brush. That brush is wonderful as well. It's very, like, fine. It has a very nice, I mean, it still has the typical foundation point, but it's different because it has, kind of goes to like a tip, and it has a very fine kind of shape to it, and it is just really good. I can actually blend out my concealer underneath my eye with it. You can see I can do that with this. And it's a wonderful brush. Wonderful brush. So I'm excited for using this. And excited for using this. And then finally, I got the Expert Face Brush. I got this because I was wanting one that I could put on setting powder as opposed to finishing powder, and I was told that using a stubbier brush was better. So I wanted to try one, and of course, since it's Real Techniques, I wanted to try it as well. I used to think that this was the same as the, what is it, there's a foundation brush that's like this, it's a buffing brush, that's it, the buffing brush, and it's not, it's much different. It's, the ferrule is a little bit more oval shaped. The buffing brush has a very, very circular ferrule, and this one is obviously, as you can see, quite oval shaped. And then also, I feel like the dome here is a little bit more domey, more domed. Got a bit more dome going on than the buffing brush. So, but also it's a bit softer than the buffing brush as well, which is good because for the buffing brush, you want it to be a little stiffer. So they are different, but they just look very similar, like from a distance. So good. I'm hoping as soon as I get all of the Real Techniques brushes, aside from maybe pass on the dual fiber ones, I might do one saying like what's the best and the worst, because I've been using quite a lot of them and I feel like I have a lot of info on that. So the next thing I got was a Japonesque, the mini, they have like a mini sculpting face set. This was I think like 20 pounds and it was on sale. Can't remember how much I paid for it, but it was something like that. I thought the brushes were going to be bigger, to be fair, but I don't actually mind smaller brushes. Sometimes it can be really nice actually when you're holding it in your hand. You feel like you can have a better grip on it. But like I said before, my biggest problem has always been the way I store my brushes. Having the difference in the lengths of the handles is a bit annoying, but I'm working on sorting that out at the moment. So didn't actually mind the fact that they were shorter, but wished that they were longer. Either way though, so you have one stippling brush. I feel like you can never have enough stippling brushes. Once you start using them, you will get addicted to them, especially if you're like me and you have like a lot of really textured skin, pore issues and the like. A stipple brush is amazing. It does a fantastic job. That and one of the Artiste brushes, those types of style brushes for just smoothing stuff out, because you don't necessarily want to use these for applying. I mean, you can, but I find that other foundation brushes are better for actually applying foundation, but see, once you kind of get that out, we as textured skin people need that little bit of extra buffing, and a stipple brush is amazing just for kind of moving around the product in a way that really blends things in until it's complete. And speaking of foundation brushes, I used this for my foundation today and I loved it. This is actually the first sort of slanted type of foundation brush that I have. I have quite a lot, but the way that I am, it's like, I want every type of brush, but I don't need 5 of the same brush. So this is the first slanted foundation brush. If I really like this, maybe I'll get a bigger one, but for the most part, I was wanting this because it was the slanted foundation brush. And it was Japonesque, and I'd never tried any of their brushes. This I used for my foundation. It was wonderful. I love the size of this. I feel like we use foundation brushes that are too big quite often. You don't need a giant foundation brush. You just need to take that little bit longer. And so for something like this, like with my Artiste brush, or I think the one I have is the PUR knockoff, but either way, that styled of brush, I can't get around the edges of my nose and like up here very well. But see, with this, I can get like right in there, and I did. And also, if you flatten it, then you can go like that and get, you know, really, really well. And I felt like the blend was just fantastic. And like I said, I've only used it once, but I really, really enjoyed it. And then we have a pointed concealer brush. These brushes are kind of a dime a dozen. I felt like this was kind of the sort of meh of the pile, but I will say is that the bristles here feel stiff, but not, what's it called? Rough or kind of hard. So that's something that I am looking forward to trying it out. I mean, I can always use more of these. It's just sort of like I have a bunch already. But again, I actually used this today to contour my nose, to do my lines. It did a pretty good job. These are meant to be used with cream products. I tend to use them with powder just because I'm weird like that. So, and this stipple brush, like I said, I used to blend out today. Next, we have 2 brushes that aren't part of a set. I got individual brushes. The first one here is the PUR brush. The other PUR brush I've gotten is the one that was their Artiste knockoff that was like a lot cheaper. It was only 19 pounds. That one, so I think like $20 if you get it in the States. That one is wonderful, and I can say that it is better than the Makeup Revolution one, because that was the first one I used. It is wonderful, and it is fantastic for blending it out. So I wanted to try another PUR brush, and here is the mineral foundation brush. I used this with my Lily Lolo mineral foundation today, and it is really good. I love the fact that the brush is small enough that it really gets in there, picks up the product fantastically well and pats it on there, and it dealt really, really well with going from using a powder product on cream. So that is something that not every brush can do. e.l.f. brushes are great for that, but not every brush can do that and have it kind of go on well, and it usually can be a hot mess if you don't. This did, and it is fantastic. I loved it. Very excited to be using that more. And then finally, not finally, but this other brush I got is the Etude House Wonder Park highlighter brush. They had 2 brushes in this set. Obviously, it's the unicorn thing. This is probably as far as I'm going to go with the unicorn thing, only because this is a type of brush I'd never had before, and that was the reason why. So for me, it was like a bonus that the bristles were colored like this, but I can't be dropping money for something that I feel like I have just, you know, I have, but with plain colored bristles. So the reason I wanted this one is because I hadn't had the brush before. And this is a highlighter brush that I don't have. It's like one of these ones that's kind of floppy, you know, like with the bristles. And obviously it's also flat tipped. It is very, very good for densely packed highlighters, and I'm excited to use this with, say, like those gelée. If I ever get those gelée type of formulas, I think this will be amazing for that, because it's very, very stiff and it picks up the product very, very well if you need to like go in like this. And then also once you get it on the face, because it's kind of so loose, the bristles are sort of really, really soft, but really, really loose. It blends out those sort of stubborn, tougher highlighters fantastically, which, as I have textured skin, happy about that. The final item I have for you is to show that I got was a set from EcoTools, and this is the Glow for It. And it was a set that was promoting girls in education, and it was on sale. And this set was one, mainly I wanted the set because of the fan brush and the sort of little face brushes, and I like EcoTools, and it was inexpensive. And, you know, this kind of style brush I really, really like. Didn't have huge expectations for it. I used this for my lips today to clean it up around the edges, and that was great. This is another one of these pointed concealer brushes, like I said, so yeah. But I do have an EcoTools eye brush that I love. They are, see if you've ever tried, if you have an EcoTools eye brush that's like, looks like it's pretty innocuous and it's not that big of a deal, try it out and like give it a real good try, because I think you'll find that those brushes are a lot more complex than you might assume. I have one that seems like it's a very odd shape for eye brushes, and then when I started using it a lot, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like an all-in-one eye brush, and it's fantastic. This is the same thing. It's an eye shading brush, and I don't know if it's possible to see it, but see the tip on the ferrule there? It's not the same on both sides. There you can kind of see it. See how the top is not quite exactly the same shape as the bottom? And that's intentional. So what it means is that, see, when you're packing on, it means that when you're packing it on, it's going to pack on the eyeshadow at an angle. I didn't end up using this today, but it's going to pack that on at an angle. But then also, then you have the end of it here, and you notice how it's not a completely rounded shape. It's kind of an angled sort of shape, and that means that when you're doing it, you can kind of like tap it on the sides, sort of smudging it in there. EcoTools eye brushes are fantastically amazing, and I think that they're highly underrated, not just for their quality, but also for their usefulness. And I used this on my cheeks today. This was wonderful. It's, you know, it was wonderful in a way that I expect it, because I have quite a lot of EcoTools powder brushes, like for cheeks and stuff like that. So it wasn't a shocker, just same old, same old. But this was the star. I'm saving the best for last, and that's intentional. This is amazing. It is the highlighting fan brush. Okay, so Stephanie Nicole, of course, always talks about the Wayne Goss fan brush and how much she loves it and how great it is because it's super soft but also kind of stiff, and that she's tried other ones. I've tried other ones. I've not had that one before since it's now discontinued. This brush is very stiff and very precise. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but the ferrule of it, like, it is very, very precise. I've never used something so precise for my highlighting ever. I tapped it into here and it picked up so much product, and then I tapped it off and I put it on here, and it gave the most precise little line of bright highlight I've ever used. I've ever had. I was so impressed. It was wonderful. and I ended up going here and it did the same thing, and then I put it here. Now this is an area I have the hardest time getting a real good highlight going. It absolutely did that. It was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely, I can't absolutely say enough about it. It was really, really good. This was a shocker. And it's probably going to become like one of my favorite brushes unless I wash it and it just falls to pieces. So this alone paid for that set, and I had a really good experience with the other ones. That was a surprise. That one was one I just sort of thought was going to be like, but I'm serious. Like, see if you've never tried EcoTools, try them. They will surprise you. Anyways, that is my brush. Stay tuned for my makeup haul that I got, which is even bigger. Bye!